Hey everyone, it's Paul, and today I have a extra special. Let me pull the mic up to me so that the sound is good. Extra special presentation for you, and it is on one of my most favorite topics in the world. Even broke out my Ethereum t-shirt for it. But today's video is going to be about why crypto is going to be the number one asset for a long time. Very specific, right? Long time. What's long? Well, I'd say minimum 3 to 5 years. And in this video, I am going to show you absolutely phenomenal evidence that is going to open up your eyes and be like, oh my God, oh my God. All right. But before I do that, I got to tell you about this, a disclaimer. All right. Number one, this video, not investment advice. All right. Investment advice is personal to you, takes into account your income, your assets, your risk, your age, all these things, and determines whether or not an investment is appropriate for you. We don't do that. So, not investment advice. Second, past performance is no guarantee of future results. So, if I reference anything from the past, doesn't guarantee you're going to make money in the future. Reality is that any trade, any speculation, any investment always carries the risk of capital loss. So that's an outcome that is always possible. So just be aware. All right. So I saw these absolutely eye-popping results show up in my inbox, and I had to look at it 3 times, and then whoa. So it was genuinely shocking, genuinely stunning, not hype. And you'll see, I'm going to show this to you. And it came from one of these very sleepy old firms, kind of like the kind of firms that I might have worked for, when I first got started. It's called Bank of New York Mellon. And just so you understand who these folks are, I mean, they custody. Custody means they actually are entrusted and keep assets from all of these companies, rich people, hedge funds, etc. So they are a legit official source for this kind of information. So if they're telling you this, I mean, this is real. All right. So they did a survey of 271 of their global institutional clients, asset owners, and hedge funds. And Dean, if you can put up the slide here quickly, and then you'll see on the slide that their results showed that an absolutely astonishing 91% of their clients surveyed want to invest in crypto. 91%, folks. 91%. All right. 100% of those with 1 trillion want to invest in crypto. So in terms of the very largest asset managers that are in sort of their pool, yeah, they all want to be invested in crypto. 70% were willing to pay extra to get liquidity and transaction speed and efficiency. Now, if you go and look at the world's asset managers, you will see that Bank of New York Mellon, BNY Mellon, they're pretty big. They're right up there. They have $2.4 trillion in assets themselves. So, little thought experiment, all right? Imagine, right, that if their clientele, BNY Mellon clientele, wanted to put 2% of their assets into crypto, 2% of 2.4 trillion is $48 billion. $48 billion. I mean, imagine $48 billion going even into the stock market. I mean, Yeah. Woo. Straight up, straight up. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of money. But, right? There's a reason why, like, I made this video, which is that look at this. All right. Look at this. The world's asset management companies have 131 trillion. 131 trillion dollars. Yeah. Okay, you know where I'm going with this, right? You know where I'm going. So, 131 trillion. So imagine that, let's start back. 91% of all the folks surveyed say they want in crypto, right? It's very unlikely that, that survey just represents just some tiny group of people. That survey is probably a good indication of what the asset management industry is thinking about, right? So let's do a little math here. If 2% of the asset management industry's assets went into crypto, woo, 2.6 trillion dollars going into crypto. 2.6 trillion dollars. 2.6 trillion dollars, folks. 2.6 trillion dollars. Yeah, I mean, I wrote these slides down and wow, wow, wow. 2.6 trillion dollars. 2.6 trillion dollars with a T. Yeah. So all of crypto right now, if you go and look at a website called CoinMarketCap, all of crypto is valued at $1 trillion. And the vast majority of that is in Bitcoin and Ethereum. I mean, that accounts for, I'd say, something like maybe 65, 70% of it. So, 2.6 trillion, 1 trillion. Yeah, something's wrong with these numbers. Yeah, I mean, what's going to happen here? So the demand, potential demand, okay? I mean, potential demand, right, is 2.6 trillion. And that's just from the asset management industry, right? We're not counting what assets companies have or banks and that. We're just talking about from the money management industry, right? So, I mean, you may be thinking, well, Paul, you're hyping this 2.6 trillion, yeah, but 2% from the asset management industry is not a big ask, folks. It's not a big ask, right? And it doesn't count, like I said, potential demand from governments, companies, banks that may want to use it. So, I mean, this is not pie in the sky. It's not pie in the sky. This is very much in the realm of like, yeah, that could happen. It's just a question of, obviously, time frame and when. But, something about this like says like, well, what's going to happen here? If you've got demand, on a reasonable basis, 2.6 trillion, your asset class is worth a trillion. Yeah, I don't think it takes a genius to figure out like, what can potentially happen here. Well, to me, when I compute that, it tells me that crypto is setting up to be the best performing asset for a very, very long time. Because obviously not all 2.6 trillion is going to come in on one day or 1 week or 1 month or 1 year. But remember, folks, and I say this on the channel all the time, you're probably tired of hearing me say it, markets anticipate, markets anticipate, markets look forward, market looks forward. So as folks start to get an idea of how much money can go in, well, prices will start to get bid up ahead of the money going in. And people will stare at those prices and say, that makes no sense. It's gone up too far, too fast. No, that's investors looking forward, anticipating where the future is, and bidding up in anticipation of this demand coming through. All right, so hey, well, there's got to be some benefit for all of y'all to listen to this video. So how do you benefit? How do you benefit? Right? That's what you're here to watch. And hey, I don't blame you, right? Your time is valuable. And we try to, make your time worth it, useful. All right. So a little plug for my company, ATG Digital Media. We have 4 tiers of subscriptions. We cover crypto, we cover growth stocks. And if you are interested and want to get guidance on these things, including crypto, well, check into atgdigital.media. There will be a link below in the description. And you can also read about my strategy with respect to crypto. And I'm actually covering this all this week in my Substack. There's a link to my Substack below. And so check that out. So we have a 3-part strategy at ATG Digital Media, which actually I'm going into all this week. First part of the strategy, buy the obvious things. All right. From experience and regrets, I can say that I regret not buying all the obvious big internet stocks. Amazon, for example. I mean, that was obvious, right? And, look at where Amazon is today, or Google. I mean, I owned Google at the IPO, but I sold it between some mix of sort of like listening to other people and or money needs that I had before it sort of like hit, like it's really big numbers. But I never owned Amazon. Why? I mean, it seemed too obvious. And so that's one of the lessons that I learned from previous markets. You want to own the obvious things because those are the ones that see the highest demand and see the highest likelihood of big price increases. What are the obvious big crypto to own? Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin. Yeah, I know everybody's like, Paul, Doge, really? Like, yeah, really. Like, this is one of the OG coins, folks. Doge has been around not quite as long as Bitcoin, but it has been around. It has lasted. And that tells me that, what? It is going to last, for a long time to come. And in hindsight, everyone will say, that was so obvious. That was so clear. I can't believe I chose not to own it. Yeah. So that's strategy number 1. Own the obvious coins. If you are a subscriber at ATG Digital, these are in our silver tier. Second strategy, sort of like is one cut below. Own the gateways. All right. I'm just going to put the slide down. I'll give you those names again. So the gateways essentially are going to be the first places where this money, this 2.6 trillion is going to sort of like flush through. So, it is going to go into exchanges. And as it does that, it's going to generate fees and transactions and, of course, money for all these folks. And so there are a lot of gateways. You can think of exchanges as gateways. You can think of sort of like infrastructure. Like, for example, in another time, a company like Bank of New York represented, part of the infrastructure, a gateway for stocks and for bonds and for sort of, what's called traditional finance instruments. But crypto has its own unique and very specific infrastructure. So gateways, in my opinion, is tokens, projects like Uniswap, or companies like Coinbase and Robinhood. And then Uniswap is a DeFi, but I count it as an exchange, so I put it up there. But then there's decentralized finance. And here's really where there are some very small projects that could benefit in a very big way from this 2.6 trillion coming in. For example, a lot of that might go to buy stable coins. So that would benefit a project and a token like Curve, and a token and a project like Maker. And then you need information and you need prices for all of these crypto. And remember, crypto is based on smart contracts. So you have to have data and information in real time, and Chainlink is the token and project that sort of, has become the primary place, this oracle that provides all of this information, so they would benefit as well. So that's strategy number two, gateways that all of this money is going to go into. Now, the third one is probably one that might surprise people, which is metaverses. All right, now I'm just going to put this down for a second and I'll put it up again so you can see it. So the reason why metaverses are, in my judgment, the place where you should go is that these are worlds that use the project's currencies. In other words, once you enter into their world, you have no choice. For example, there is a metaverse called Decentraland, and you can buy land and things like that. But to transact in this metaverse, you have to use their token called mana. So the advantage to a metaverse is that they don't have to attract you to use their project, or to use their token by getting you to spend it in the real world. They've created their own world that you can spend the token in. So once they get you into their world, then at least one thing is easy, which is that they don't have to persuade you to use their token. There is an actual use for their token in that metaverse. And so this is obviously a very novel, new application for a currency or a token. And the metaverse, there's several big projects. The ones that I've spec'd out and have been looking at, there's 3 or 4. I'll give you 2 here. One is called Decentraland, which has a token called Mana. And there's another one called Sandbox, which has a token, I believe it's called Sand. I want to mention quickly as well, obviously, that in the metaverse, you've got Meta, the old Facebook, which is making an all-in bet on the metaverse. And it's very, very likely that, once they create the metaverse, they're going to have to create a token so that you can spend money in their metaverse. So while right now they don't have a token per se, I feel pretty good that, once they get to a certain level of sort of critical mass, they will have a token. All right, so that's my video for this week. Crypto setting up to be the #1 asset class for a very long time. 3 strategies for you to benefit. Own the obvious crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge. Own the gateways, and that includes a mix of stocks and tokens/projects, including Uniswap and Coinbase, Robinhood, as in terms of exchanges. In terms of like other sort of plumbing infrastructure gateways, there's projects like Maker, Curve, and Chainlink. And finally, Metaverse, where there are Metaverse projects like Decentraland and Sandbox, and finally, MetaStock. All right, if you like ideas like this, future-looking ideas, growth-based ideas, check into atgdigital.media. Subscriptions start at $9.99. If you want to check us out, check me out a little bit more, read the Substack. Link is below. If none of that sounds good to you, well, hey, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and come back next week. This is Paul saying